Good afternoon, and welcome to a food and environmental safety refresher. My name is Beverly Gerard, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Chef Cindy.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, we would like to take a moment to introduce ourselves. I recently retired, I guess it was 2 years ago now, from Sarasota County Schools in Florida. I was the director there for 28 years of food and nutrition services. And before that, I had served as an area supervisor in Palm Beach County Schools for 6.5 years. I'm a registered dietitian. In my 2 years since I've been retired, I created my own business called Leading Edge Training and Consulting. And right now I'm doing a lot of work with Chef Cindy. So I'm thrilled to be here and looking forward to our time together today. Chef Cindy?
Thank you, Beverly. So happy to be here with you all today. I'm Cindy Story, Chef Cindy, a registered dietitian, a certified chef with a PhD in food and lodging management. So for the last 17 years, I have owned and operated Culinary Solution Centers. We are a K-12 consulting agency specializing in streamlining and optimizing school meal systems, including food safety and food production. So we have an amazing team of chefs and RD specialists working on a variety of projects right now, Meals to Go and Summer Food Service Program resource for North Carolina, approximately 70 virtual Virginia Summer Manager workshops on money management, some work with industry, and more. Before Culinary Solutions, like Beverly, I worked for many years in school districts around the Atlanta, Georgia area. So our disclosures include Beverly's company, Leading Edge Training and Consulting, where she does financial and operational support to school districts with My Fundamental software, and she serves as a training consultant with ICN. Plus, she works with me and the K-12 team, and we do provide SFS PAC and its customers with custom HACCP plans and food safety consulting. Well, let's briefly go over today's objectives. So as you can imagine, we need to identify recommended changes or updates to our food safety plan as a result of the pandemic, including the status of personal protection equipment. We will discuss employee health screenings and potential illness among employees. And as with most food safety presentations, we will present safe handling of TCS food and of course round out with cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting those non-food and food contact surfaces. Beverly and I are available in the chat at any time to answer questions. We're here with you throughout the entire presentation, and we will conduct a Q&A at the end. So, why should we update our HACCP plans every year? Because we are dynamic, and I mean that in both ways. Our school nutrition community is full of energy and new ideas, and our school nutrition programs, we are in constant change. And as you can see on the slide, since 2017, we have received regular updates to the food code, which require changes to our SOPs, right? For example, new terms and definitions, written procedures now for handling blood and bodily fluids are required. There have been revised time and temperatures for cooking TCS foods. Plus, you might have had some updates based on state or local requirements. And again, finally, just a little heads up, the next FDA food code is expected out in 2021. Sometimes, we don't even need a change in the code, but there's just a change in procedure that turns around and requires us to think about, what's the best way that we can ensure food safety? And here's an example. We are hearing more and more school districts accepting drop deliveries at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. This is before you guys arrive for the day, right? So how are we going to document safe temperatures in this situation? Well, you should create a vendor log for the delivery person to record the time, product name, and the product's temperature. The first person to arrive at work, they're going to take and record the product temperature on another column, on the same log. And yes, could the delivery driver falsify the report? Of course, but most likely you're going to be checking that report 1 to 2 hours later. And if the driver records, let's say, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and you check 2 hours later and the product is at 42, maybe you should do some investigation. What's the situation? Again, look at your, first thing I would do is check my refrigeration equipment and make sure that it's working properly. And remember, always document a vendor issue. So next is a list of potential new SOPs that you may have added to your plan in the last few years. Okay, using school garden produce. Okay, very exciting. Safe transporting meals to the classroom using temperature controls, or TPHC. Say that with me, TPHC, okay? Time as a public health control. Maybe you're now managing share tables. Okay, so maybe you were managing share tables. We're not sure if you're managing them right now, but again, it could be an SOP that will come back and be added. And field trips. Again, maybe not field trips right now, okay, but one day, okay? Just because the meal has left your operation, that doesn't mean that you can let go of the chain of custody. You can't let go of the responsibility for safety, okay? It remains with you. So things were going along so well, and then bam, right? And what happened? Okay, things heated up like emerald saute pan. I mean, literally, your world was turned upside down with this health crisis. And you all became the nation's heroes in your amazing response to feeding children. And Dr. Beverly and I thank you from our deepest parts of our hearts. So next, we're going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Beverly to share some thoughts and reflections.
Well, thank you, Chef Cindy. We had an immediate about face in uncharted territory. We talk about the new normal, all expressions we have heard or used during the past year and a half. In school nutrition, we're accustomed to the unexpected. But it's safe to say that none of us expected COVID-19 and its absolute disruption to life as we know it. However, as Fred Rogers said, when you think you're at the beginning of something, when you think you're at the end of something, you're really at the beginning of something else. Thinking about all of the changes, we need to remain committed to the basics. Have there been changes to your HACCP plan? Are there new types of foods or preparation techniques that you and your coworkers are not familiar with, and maybe you had to learn some new skills? Written processes and steps help promote food safety and provide the support all staff need to feel more confident in their role. Lastly, there may be unexpected contamination hazards that staff members simply haven't dealt with in the past. Proper mask usage and PPE immediately come to mind. But what about employees who work in remote locations? We need to think all the time about potential hazards. What about that personal cell phone call in the bus loop while serving meals to students? It may be a temptation, but we need to realize the potential hazard of failure to wash our hands in this environment. We need to be very serious about thinking of potential challenges and anticipate the challenges that could arise in this new way of doing business.
Thanks, Beverly. Speaking of new procedures, hand washing procedures have changed. We are now required to scrub our hands and arms for 20 seconds, then rinse and dry. Now, I want you to notice the temperature on the slide. Okay, we want to be sure that your hand sink provides water at approximately 100 degrees. Now, you may be thinking, okay, great, 100 degrees, that's going to kill germs. No, it's not going to be hot enough to kill germs or pathogens, but what it does is it opens the pores so the soap can get in there and destroy the pathogens better. Next up, as part of hand maintenance, is the use of sanitizer, hand sanitizer. Now, right now, there is no product, okay, that replaces good old-fashioned hand washing, okay, in reducing pathogens. But if hand washing facilities are unavailable, okay, then you would use an approved hand sanitizer, either 60% ethyl alcohol or 70% isopropyl alcohol. Now, I just said approved, meaning approval by the Food and Drug Administration or the FDA, especially now that everyone's getting in the sanitizer business all around COVID. So FDA does have a link. You just simply Google FDA hand sanitizers you should not use, and you will find that. So speaking of hand sanitizer, let's take a look at the proper steps to using hand sanitizer. So you understand proper hand washing and the steps around that. Here are the steps to proper hand rubbing, okay, for using a sanitizer. So you would apply a palmful of the sanitizer in your cupped hand, and then you're going to rub using this following method. So you're going to do palm to palm first, covering all the surfaces, palm to palm. And then you'll do palm over the back of your hands with interlaced fingers. And then your palm to palm with interlaced fingers. So you do the back and then you do the front. Then you do the backs of fingers to the opposite palm. And then you do what we call the rotational thumb in the palm. So you're rotating the thumb inside your palm. And then, of course, you're rotating your fingers back and forth in the palm. If you would like a live demonstration when we get to Q&A, I'll be glad to step you through that. So, but do hand sanitizers prevent the spread of COVID-19? There is no drug to date, okay, that prevents the spread of COVID-19. And I have to say, over the years, I've always been concerned with the overuse of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. I can't stress enough that we should only be using these products when it's the only thing you see available. And I hope when we return to normal, which is we're getting there, aren't we, that our educators are more willing to support student hand washing in schools. Okay, we're all ready for that, aren't we? That support. Okay, let's move on to personal protective equipment, PPE, and face coverings. So first, you want to select a face covering that's going to fully cover your nose and mouth all the way down to your chin. The material should be comfortable, breathable, no filters, and of course, launders well, right? We want it to hold up and be durable. A more familiar item to you is gloves. As you can see in the photo here, we have rubber gloves and disposable gloves. I think there continues to be a shortage of disposable gloves. So if you're doing tasks that don't mandate food contact gloves, such as handling ready-to-eat food, salads and things, and you need to wear gloves, I would consider wearing the reusable rubber gloves, especially for cleaning and sanitizing. Now, when you are wearing disposable gloves, the CDC recommends that you remove them properly so that you contain the pathogens. And there's, if you go to the CDC website, you can see little videos on proper removal of your gloves. So our K-12 team has been working with North Carolina on COVID-related posters, such as face coverings, meal service, cleaning and sanitizing and disinfecting. These resources are now, they're finally available just by going to the North Carolina Child Nutrition Department of Public Instruction, DPI, homepage. And the link is right there on that homepage. You can see the link here on the slide. And you just simply scroll down to COVID-19 communications and resources. All right, so handling face coverings, well, it's pretty simple. Disposable masks should be thrown away at the end of the day. Yesterday's nacho cheese sauce should not be on your mask. Right? Cloth masks should be laundered after you wear them. And we're going to launder them in the hottest water setting for that fabric, and then dried in a dryer on the hottest setting or in direct sunlight. Now next, 2 snaps, okay? Listen up. Can you wear a face shield instead of a face mask? No. Okay, if you want to wear a face shield and a mask, that is great, but you can't just wear a face shield in the place of a mask. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Beverly.
Well, thank you, Chef Cindy. If PPE is provided, it's important to know specific guidelines for mask usage. It is vital that food, customers, and coworkers be protected from potential contamination. Whether or not we want to wear PPE or even believe in the importance of mask usage, this cannot be a stumbling block to provide safe food to students and all people served in the school nutrition program. One measure to help ensure safety is the cleanliness of the PPE. Do you have, as Chef Cindy just mentioned, do you have specific criteria for how often a mask must be changed or washed? There are so many things to think about, but the more we talk about these issues, the more likely it is we're doing the right thing. My guess is we have seen people wearing masks incorrectly. Maybe their mouths are covered, but the nose is exposed, or maybe they're just tired of wearing a mask, so it dangles from one ear, or it's tucked under their chin. Providing direction on exactly how to wear a mask is important, but the common complaints of eyeglasses fogging, or the mask getting hot, or the ear straps irritating are legitimate. How about asking coworkers to come up with helpful hints to correctly wear masks during the workday? So here we have Chef Andy Montero demonstrating the chin strap method and my favorite nose out option. Back to you, Chef Cindy. Well, I think I'll take it myself. How's that? The state of North Carolina has developed some excellent resources to respond to the pandemic. Let's take a look at some of their catchy, memorable reminders. And just so you know, North Carolina, as Chef Cindy said, is happy to share these resources with you. So let's review them. Maybe you can read them along with me. Feel bad? Been exposed? Stay at home. Viruses do roam. The next one, listen to your body. It's your new hobby. If you're feeling groggy, don't hang out with anybody. Next, stay 6 feet away throughout the day. Handshakes and hugs might share the bug, so keep your spirit alive with air high fives. Back to you, Chef Cindy.
Thank you, Dr. Beverly. It always makes me smile hearing you read those. Actually, I think this next slide is still yours, Beverly.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Many of you started employee wellness checks back in the beginning of the pandemic, and you may be continuing the CDC strategy to mitigate COVID-19. Personally, I've not heard any complaints. Just a heads up, there are differences out there in standard operating procedures for body temperatures concerns from 99 to the CDC recommendation of 100.4. So make sure you check with your local jurisdiction. Also, it needs to be a body thermometer and not your food infrared thermometer. So don't do that, right?
Right.
So if you're home, if you are experiencing symptoms, you need to stay home. You need to contact a health provider and then monitor those symptoms because they may last for 3 to 10 days or longer, depending on your health condition. So here's a recommendation as well. When you need to isolate or quarantine, you need to isolate if you're sick or diagnosed with COVID-19. Quarantine if exposed to COVID-19, and if you're not vaccinated and have not had COVID-19 in the last 3 months. You need to know that loss of taste and smell may persist for weeks or months after recovery and need not delay the end of isolation. So I isolate once again until 10 days since the first symptoms appeared, 24 hours with no fever without the use of fever-reducing medications, and other symptoms of COVID-19 are improving. Once again, we need to quarantine until 14 days from the initial exposure, and then check with your local folks and see what your local jurisdiction has to say. Is it after day 10 without testing? Is it after day 7 after receiving a negative test result? And the test must occur on day 5 or later. So we need to remember that this is required by the ADA and HIPAA, that employee health records must remain confidential, which does make it a little bit difficult. But again, this is a requirement from the Americans with Disabilities Act and HIPAA. Under normal circumstances, we typically review basic hand washing procedures at least annually. Is it possible that this review should be conducted much more often? And if so, how often for your kitchen or operation? Your school district and schools have probably developed protocols for reporting illnesses. But who takes the lead on that process? And has it been clearly defined through the ranks? Again, just something to think about as we prepare for this next school year. If a group of employees contract COVID or exposed to the virus, which you may or may not have already experienced, but my guess is that many of you have experienced this, is there a clear process on the next steps to take to close an operation? We really don't know the challenges yet that this new school year will bring. So right now, is a very good time to have a planned response as we approach this upcoming school year. Have there been changes to the plan if the kitchen operation is closed? Yes. If so, what is the new plan for providing meals to this location? Since the methods of meal service may continue to look very different than in the past, has there been an assessment of the correct equipment needed to transport food and keep it safe and at the correct holding temperature during meal service? Talking about these concerns early on helps us come up with a plan that works best for your operation. We all know how valuable staff are in school nutrition operations, but healthy, productive staff have been an absolute gift during this pandemic. It is more important than ever to minimize the risk of injury to ourselves and to our coworkers at a time when the physical demands of the job may be higher than at any time in the past. Are there obstacles that can be addressed and minimized for you and for your coworkers? Remember, having these conversations now will help you plan for the future.
Thank you, Dr. Beverly. And just as Dr. Beverly's talking about change, food is on the move right now. And although we hope that many of you are getting back to face-to-face, you may still be transporting food. So if you're using temperature controls throughout holding, transporting, all the way to serving, you know this, hot food's hot. They must be held at 135 degrees or higher. Cold food's cold, okay, 41 degrees or below. So on the next slide, we have the other option for you, which is, we said this earlier, TPHC, using time as a public health control. So with this, hot foods may be in the temperature danger zone for up to 4 hours without temperature control, and cold foods without temperature control for a maximum of 6 hours, with this caveat, as long as the cold food doesn't go above 70 degrees, which means that you will need to check the temperature of the cold food to make sure. Now, remember that the time and temperature is taken and recorded at the time it is removed from temperature control. So when you pull hot foods out of the hot box, that's when you would record the time and temp. Cold foods coming out of the reach in or the walk in, that's when you would write down that temperature and time. Then the time that the food is consumed, picked up, or discarded is then recorded on that same log to document safe food handling procedures. All right, back over to you, Dr. Beverly.
Thank you. As Chef Cindy just indicated, keeping hot food hot and cold food cold is so important, and it can be challenging in the best of situations. Remote or unfamiliar serving locations may present an entirely new set of challenges, which many of you have already experienced. You will want to consider the potential challenges and solutions to this issue in your operations. Food distribution during the spring and summer months are challenging. It seems as each season brings its own unique challenges, especially for food distribution at locations like a bus loop during the cold winter months. Lots of ice and warm weather. And remember, coolers can be used to keep food temporarily cold or warm. If you don't have hot food transport equipment, you really can consider a cooler. Although coolers do not have a heating element and they cannot heat or rewarm food, they can stop hot food heat from escaping and keep food warm for a longer period of time than if there was no protection whatsoever. Cindy?
All righty. Thank you. So our last section here, our last food safety section is cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. So we're going to start out with what does it mean to clean? So cleaning removes what you can see, okay, the visible debris or residue on a surface. This step is so important, and sometimes it gets overlooked, but it's really important that you do this so that you can then proper sanitize or disinfect. Okay, you've got to get everything out of the way so that your product can work best. Sanitizing and disinfecting, there is a big difference here. So when you sanitize, bacteria and viruses on food contact surfaces, okay, are reduced. We disinfect non-food contact surfaces to destroy bacteria and viruses. Now, if there has been a virus exposure, you can disinfect food contact surfaces, but you have to be sure to rinse. And again, always check with your manufacturer. You can check your safety data sheet, or you can check with the EPA for mixing and handling. Okay. Also, what PPE is required and what are the approved substances. Bleach or sodium hypochlorite is a sanitizer that many of us stopped using due to safety and corrosion issues. If you're using bleach, you know this, okay? It should not be mixed with ammonia because it can react and it forms a very, very, very deadly gas that reacts very quickly in a negative way with your body. Different bleach products have different formulas and concentrations. So, for example, bleach used for laundry may not be appropriate for disinfection of certain surfaces. Also, if the same chemical is used as a sanitizer and a disinfectant, you want to be sure to label those bottles. So you would say, bleach dash sanitizer or bleach dash disinfectant to avoid any confusion there. Quaternary ammonia may also be used as a sanitizer or in higher concentrations as a disinfectant. Also, some of you may be buying disinfectants that also contain a detergent. So for those particular products, there would be no need for the cleaning step because it's kind of a one-stop shop in that bottle. All right, back to you, Dr. Beverly.
Thank you. Well, as employees are serving in different locations under different circumstances than they have ever experienced in the past, it's no surprise that cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting may present entirely new challenges. Staff who are accustomed to routines established over many years within the kitchen may be faced with new challenges at remote or outdoor serving locations. Simply talking with staff and coworkers about those challenges is a great way to identify issues and work toward a solution. Since this is new territory for everyone, you may have others who want to provide advice, but it may be faulty advice. The entire food and nutrition team needs to know the best way to report food safety violations, and they need to know how to address those issues. We all know, we do, about the teacher or the coach who think the ice machine belongs to them. And what other violations have you faced, which you and your coworkers need to resolve immediately? As you think about these real life or even potential issues, discuss how you plan to address the issues in your school or your department. And we need to point this out. And as you are probably already aware, I'm sure you are, the extra precautions required during the COVID-19 response have added, and unfortunately, they have added expenses to our school nutrition programs. Items like face masks and PPE have added costs we would have never anticipated. You may not make the big financial decisions for your kitchen or operation, but all employees can do their part to control food, labor, and supply costs. We all need to make a critical difference now and in the months and years ahead to protect the ongoing financial integrity of the school meals program. Since you are participating in this SNA Annual National Conference, you absolutely have a great interest in promoting the success of your school nutrition program. On behalf of Chef Cindy and I, we want to thank you for all you have already done, your hard work and commitment this past year, and applaud you for your work taking care of your community's children. And now we would like to entertain questions.